and to be speaking on this subject. Well, I'm way in over my head. As a nerd, I can simulate social behavior for maybe an hour, maybe two tops, which is not an apology. I was born this way, which many of you may recognize as a line from a Leonard Cohen song, although there's a group calling themselves Little Monsters who may also feel the same way, and I can identify with them more than you'd think. But I am a fish out of water in this topic. All I know to do is stand up for the stuff that I believe, but the idea is to focus on the enablers of large-scale change and focus from the bottom up. I don't know how to do things top-down. You know, the site I've run in the past is all bottom-up stuff, grassroots stuff. So first, I'm going to try to learn from what's worked in the past for large-scale social change when it comes to philanthropy. The social networking is not so new. I'm learning from one of my previous nerds, a guy named Johannes Gutenberg, who invented some pretty cool technology, didn't get very far with this. And by the way, I'm serious when I talk about things this way. I'm serious when I refer to a blogger named Martin Luther, who knew what he wanted to do with social media, and he had some real effects, but he was building on an existing social networking platform, which was the church's Store and Forward network, which actually worked out pretty well for him. That Store and Forward network was first built by a blogger named Paul of Tarsus, better known as St. Paul, who himself was a pretty accomplished social media practitioner. Again, not being facetious here, these guys were practicing social media and got results. Paul, of course, used what I'm now calling email, or short for epistle mail. And having introduced that joke, I really should retire it now. More recent bloggers, and I'm serious, they wrote in pamphlets, but they were blogs, were folks like John Locke, the real John Locke, not the lost guy, Ben Franklin, Thomas Paine. These were bloggers who helped invent and promote modern representative democracy. They saw what the Romans did, and they decided to do it a lot better. What they're doing, what they did, is what they're doing now for us, what we're doing now, because their changes all took 200 or 300 years to play out. What's happening this decade is that hundreds of years of social change is being compressed, I feel, into about 10 years. This is pretty dramatic. The deal is that we're living right now, I think, at a pivotal point in human history. You're a part of it, and that's a big deal. What am I going to be doing? Well, again, as a nerd, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I figure I'll support the people who are really getting stuff done. I'll support people who are doing effective grassroots work. I'm not interested in people who just have good intentions. I'm only interested in people who know how to do things, and I'm going to focus on those efforts which actually enable other people to do really big change, sometimes called force multipliers. As an exercise, doing something I believe in is to support in a big way military families and veterans, because they always need help. They haven't been treated very well until 2009, trying to accelerate that, trying to make that happen in a big way. One problem is that there's a lot of small groups who help out a small number of veterans in a small geography at a time, and they don't talk with each other very much. But real stuff, next week I meet with 2 or 3 groups doing that kind of thing, pushing them in that direction. This also includes groups like the Blue Star Families, the Bob Woodruff Foundation, the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, the Intrepid Museum, also folks at Veterans Affairs, the Pentagon, and the First Lady's office, trying to nudge people just to talk with each other because we're all too siloed. What I've learned so far is that there really are a lot of small groups around doing a lot of the work. They don't talk to each other, and they need enabling technology. But when we talk about amplifying things, there's a good government group called Sunlight Foundation. They had big announcements, big success. Monday, the president signed an executive order saying, hey, we've got to do a much better job of pushing government transparency, of telling where the money comes from, where it goes, what people get for it. Simultaneously, the Republican House leadership introduced the data bill, which basically said, hey, let's do this. Let's build real sites which tell people where the money goes, and you can build tools, just like Sunlight Foundation does, to show people where the money goes. That's a big deal. Talking about bigger force multipliers. You know, a lot of us, we all want to help out with things, and in this, you know, in our country, that means typically helping out charities and different nonprofit groups. Sometimes we're paralyzed when we hear that a lot of nonprofits are bogus. There are a lot of nonprofits which are great at telling you a good story, a heart-wrenching story, a compelling story. Then they're great at cashing checks, and they're great at faking results. How do you get help figuring out what's what? Charity Navigator and GuideStar are known for looking at the financial soundness of nonprofits. Now they're getting into looking at the real effectiveness of nonprofits. Ahead of the curve a bit is a group working with them called greatnonprofits.org. It's Yelp for nonprofits. You can go in yourselves and do user reviews for nonprofits, and that really helps. That's a real contribution. If you know user review sites, though, you know they can be gamed, and that's one of the things I talk about. Finally, the most important tool in the preservation and survival of a free country is a free and vigorous press asking tough questions. Well, in attempts at wit, I've been saying things like the press should be the immune system of democracy. And that truth is the new black. Yes, those are my attempts at wit, and yes, the girlfriend reminds me that I'm not as funny as I think I am. But just consider that we just had a presidential debate with no fact-checking. Talk about a cable news fail. Talk about situations where, you know, you see reporters on cable news who you know and they know that a politician is lying to them, and that's never challenged. We're building networks of fact-checking now. PolitiFact is part of it. On Friday, I visit the Center for Public Integrity, pushing ahead the same thing. So, you know, in conclusion, I'm going to be asking 3 favors from you. If you're on Facebook, and if you see a group or cause that you believe in, like the thing. And when they post stuff, hit the like link or the share link. That has more effect, especially when we're all doing it, than you think. Do the same thing on Twitter. And if you're involved with nonprofits at all, even if there's just one you like, go to greatnonprofits.org and write a little review on it. These are small things, but in the mass, this is big social media stuff. Which, you know, in my hidden agenda, if we work together in social media, we become part of something much bigger than us as individuals. There's nothing so powerful as an idea's time has come. And that's Victor Hugo's way of saying, there's a tipping point looming right now. If we work together, we can actually make really big stuff happen. Everyone here is part of this kind of thing, so do me a favor, do the kind of thing I was suggesting, help me out and help the whole species out. Thanks, folks.